Welcome back to the Better Version Book Club, the podcast where we read the books that promise to change your life and then calmly explain what they actually mean. I'm Alan.
And I'm Melody. Each week we break down one influential book with one simple goal, helping you become a better version of yourself.
Not a completely new person, just slightly better decisions, slightly fewer regrets, and ideally a slightly healthier relationship with money.
And today's book definitely fits that brief.
That's right, we're talking about Rich Dad, Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki. I feel like this is the book everyone says you have to read when you decide you want to be serious about money.
Exactly. It sold millions of copies and completely changed how a lot of people think about their finances. The core of the book is this comparison between his two dads.
Right. So you have his real dad, the poor dad, who was highly educated, had a stable government job, but always struggled with money.
The traditional path. Job security, good benefits, focus on formal education.
And then you have his friend's dad, the rich dad, who was a high school dropout, but became a self-made millionaire. His focus was totally different.
He focused on financial education, on learning how money actually works, not just how to work for it. And that's the central tension of the book. Now, we should set expectations here. This isn't a get-rich-quick manual. It's a book about mindset. It's about learning to think differently about your job, your money, and what it means to be wealthy.
Which is a good thing, because my get-rich-quick schemes have so far resulted in me just getting quick, not rich. So let's dig into these two mindsets.
The poor dad mindset is probably what most of us grew up with. What was the advice you always heard, Alec?
Oh, easy. Go to school, get good grades, find a safe, secure job with a good pension. That was the holy grail. I did all of that, and now I'm hosting a podcast. So you tell me how that worked out. Not just me. I remember after college, I landed what I thought was my dream job. Good company, steady paycheck, benefits, the whole package. For the first year, it was great. Then I realized I was just stuck. The raises were barely keeping up with inflation, my work wasn't fulfilling, and I had zero control over my own time. I was living for the weekend, completely trading my life for a paycheck that just barely covered my expenses. It felt safe, but it was actually a cage.
Right, and that path isn't inherently bad, but Kiyosaki argues it's incomplete. The poor dad says, the love of money is the root of all evil.
Heard that one.
The rich dad says, the lack of money is the root of all evil. It's a total reframe. One mindset sees money as something to be cautious of, something scarce. The other sees it as a tool to be understood and used.
Okay, I get that. Poor dad says, I can't afford it, which shuts down your brain. Rich dad asks, how can I afford it, which forces you to think and find solutions.
Exactly, and this leads to a crucial point, why earning more money doesn't automatically make you richer. The poor dad thinks a raise will solve his problems, but what usually happens when you get a raise, Alec?
Your lifestyle gets a raise. New car payment, slightly bigger apartment. You start buying the fancy artisanal cheese instead of the regular block of cheddar. It just gets absorbed.
That's lifestyle inflation. The rich dad mindset isn't focused on just earning more. It's focused on what you do with the money you have. It's about learning to manage it, not just fearing the lack of it.
Okay, so this brings us to what feels like the absolute core lesson of this book, the thing everyone quotes.
Assets versus liabilities.
There it is.
It's shockingly simple, which is why it's so powerful. Rich Dad's definition is this: an asset puts money in your pocket. A liability takes money out of your pocket.
That's it? That seems too simple.
It is. But think about the implications. What do most people consider their biggest asset?
Their house, the family home.
Right. But does your house put money in your pocket every month?
No, it takes money out. There's the mortgage, property taxes, insurance, the roof that suddenly decides to leak on a Tuesday.
So, by Kiyosaki's definition, your primary residence is a liability, not an asset. Same with your car.
Whoa, okay, my car is definitely taking money out of my pocket. Gas, insurance, the weird clunking sound I'm currently ignoring, it's a money bonfire on wheels. I'm pretty sure I have a whole collection of liabilities. My comic book collection, my vintage synthesizers, they bring me joy, but they definitely don't pay the rent. But what about something that could be both? like if you buy a duplex and live in one half while renting out the other.
That's a perfect modern example. And in 2026, the whole concept of an asset has exploded beyond things you can physically touch. We have to talk about digital assets. Think about a content creator with a monetized YouTube channel. They build a library of videos that earns ad revenue for years. Or a writer with a successful paid newsletter. That's an asset that pays them every single month. You create an online course once, and it can generate income while you sleep.
But isn't that just another job? Sounds exhausting. You're still grinding away making videos.
Yes, there's upfront work, absolutely, but the key difference is leverage. The YouTuber's active work is creating a video, but the asset is the entire back catalog of videos. A video they shot 2 years ago can still get views and earn money today. They've decoupled their time from their income. The work they did in the past continues to pay them. That's the asset building mindset.
And on the flip side of digital assets are digital liabilities. And I'm an expert collector of these. I call it subscription creep. I have the big ones, for movies and music. But then there's the premium version of the note-taking app, the AI-powered email assistant, the cloud storage I'm barely using. I did an audit last month and realized I was spending over $100 on services I'd completely forgotten about. Each one felt small when I signed up, but together they create this silent drain on my finances. Okay, so the goal is to have your assets generate enough money to cover your expenses and your liability.
That's financial freedom, according to the book. When your passive income from assets exceeds your expenses. It's not about being a miser. It's not about cutting out all joy. It's about being intentional and building a system where your money works for you instead of you just working for it.
And this directly leads into another huge concept in the book, the rat race, which sounds exhausting.
It is, and it's the pattern most people are stuck in. Can you describe it, Alec? I feel like you've already touched on it.
Yeah, it's the hamster wheel. You get a job to pay your bills. You earn more money, so you spend more money. That lifestyle inflation we talked about. Your expenses rise to meet your income. You need a bigger house, a nicer car. Keeping up appearances. Totally. So now your bills are higher, which means you're even more dependent on your job. You can't afford to lose it. So you work harder, maybe get a promotion and a raise. And the cycle repeats. You're running faster and faster, but not actually going anywhere.
It's a trap driven by two emotions: fear of not having enough money to pay the bills, and greed or desire for the nicer things that money can buy.
It's funny, you think getting that big pay raise will be the thing that finally lets you relax, but often it just adds more stress. You earn more, but somehow you feel like you have less breathing room.
And the way out of the rat race, according to Kiyosaki, isn't a higher paying job. It's breaking the cycle by focusing on buying assets, not liabilities. That's how you build a path out of the hamster wheel.
Okay, so buying assets is the what, but the book also talks about the how, right? It's not just about your job, it's about where your income comes from. He has that quadrant thing.
Now, the cash flow quadrant, yes, this is another foundational idea. He divides the world into 4 types of people based on how they earn their income. It's a grid with 4 letters: E, S, B, and I.
Right, and before anyone's eyes glaze over at the word quadrant, don't worry, this isn't maths. There will be no surprise exam at the end.
Exactly. It's really just a simple framework for understanding where your money comes from. So let's walk through each one. First is E, employee. You work for someone else, trade your time for money, and get a regular paycheck.
Feels safe, predictable, but your income is capped, and if you stop working, the money stops.
Next is S, self-employed or specialist. Doctors, lawyers, consultants, freelancers.
You own your job, which sounds great until you realize you are the business. No work, no income.
Then we move to the right side, B, business owner. This is where you own a system that works without you being there every day.
Keyword system, not just working harder, building something that runs.
And finally, I, investor. This is where money itself works for you. Stocks, property, funds, businesses you don't operate day to day.
Kiyosaki's big point is that the left side relies on your labor and the right side relies on assets and system.
And this isn't about quitting your job tomorrow, it's about using your job to slowly move to the right side over time. So, how do you actually do that? The book's answer is financial education. It's the one thing Rich Dad prioritized that Poor Dad didn't.
Exactly. And one of the main tools he uses to teach that is the Cashflow Quadrant. It's basically a way of showing the different ways people earn money. On the left side, you have E for employee. You have a job, you work for someone else, and you get a paycheck. This is the path most of us know best, trading time for money. Which, by the way, is my quadrant. I know this place well. The perceived safety is huge. You get a predictable salary, health benefits, a 401k. But the downside is you have almost no leverage. Your income is capped, you pay the highest taxes, and your time is not your own. You're building someone else's asset, not your own.
Exactly. Next on the left side is S for self-employed or specialist. This is your doctor, your lawyer, or a freelance artist. You don't have a boss, you own your job. But the catch is if you don't work, you don't get paid. And this is where the quadrant really starts to reveal something important. The difference between the left and right side leads to one of the book's most powerful ideas, the difference between your profession and your business. Rich Dad says your profession is what pays the bills, but your business is what actually makes you wealthy.
Wait, I thought my job was my business. That's what I spend all my time on.
That's the mindset shift. Your profession is how you generate cash flow, your salary. Your business is what you do with that cash flow. It's your asset column. Let's take a software engineer in 2026. Her profession is coding for a big tech company. She's in the E quadrant, earning a great salary. But if she just inflates her lifestyle with that salary, she's stuck. Her business, on the other hand, is what she builds with that income. Every month, she uses a portion of her paycheck to buy tech ETFs, or maybe even funds a small SaaS project she's developing on the side. Her profession funds her business.
Yeah, this is a big theme. We learned all about history and algebra in school, but almost nothing about personal finance, investing, or taxes. It's like being given a car with no driving lesson.
That's a perfect analogy. And because we don't have that education, we're terrified of the subject. Rich Dad argues that what people call risky investing is often just a lack of knowledge. The real enemy isn't risk, it's ignorance.
So instead of saying investing is risky, the idea is to say, I need to learn more so it becomes less risky for me.
Exactly. And learning comes from experience, not just theory. Rich Dad encouraged making mistakes, but small ones. You don't bet the farm on your first try. You start small, you learn, you adjust.
That's a relief. So he's not saying go and be reckless. He's saying take calculated, educated steps, learn by doing.
Precisely. The goal is to build your financial intelligence so you can spot opportunities that others miss because they're operating out of fear.
Okay, Melody, we have to address the elephant in the room. This book gets a lot of criticism. People say it oversimplifies things, that some of the stories might be made up, and that the advice is a bit dated.
And that's a fair and important critique. We have to acknowledge that. The world is more complex than a simple fable of two dads. For instance, the real estate examples he uses might not apply in every market today.
Right, and not everyone starts from the same place. It's a lot easier to take risks and buy assets if you have a safety net.
Privilege and starting conditions are a huge factor that the book doesn't really address.
But I will say, even with all that, the core message about mindset is still powerful.
I completely agree. You can ignore the specific tactics, but the fundamental shift in thinking is the real takeaway. It forces you to question everything you've been taught about work and money. There's one last crucial skill that Rich Dad emphasized, and it's one that makes a lot of people uncomfortable: sales and communication. He believed that financial success often depends less on your professional craft and more on your ability to sell, to communicate, and to market an idea.
Sales is such a dirty word. It feels sleazy, like you're tricking someone.
And that's exactly the mental block most of us have. But Rich Dad reframes it as effective communication. It's not about tricking people, it's about persuading, influencing, and conveying value. You do it every day. When you pitch a project at work, you're selling. When you're building a personal brand online, you're marketing yourself. When you're trying to get buy-in from your team, that's sales.
It changes your entire perspective on what a job is for, what you buy, and what your long-term goals are. It's less of a how-to guide and more of a why-to guide.
Even if people understand the why to, Kiyosaki points out that there are some major mental roadblocks that stop them from ever getting started. He lists 5 main ones, but a few really stand out.
The big one has to be fear. The fear of losing money is so powerful for most people that it paralyzes them. They'd rather play it safe and never win than risk losing even a dollar.
Exactly. And Rich Dad's perspective is that failure is part of the process. He says he's met more people who have never lost money investing than rich people. The difference is how they handle failure. For the wealthy, it's a learning opportunity. For everyone else, it's a catastrophe.
It's like learning to ride a bike. You're gonna fall. If you quit after the first scrape, you'll never get anywhere. But if you learn why you fell and adjust, you eventually find your balance.
Then there's the second obstacle, cynicism, the what if monster. What if the economy crashes? What if I get ripped off? It's the voice that constantly shoots down every opportunity before you can even analyze it.
Okay, so we've talked a lot about the big mindset shifts, but let's get practical. If someone finishes this book and they're fired up, what is the absolute first thing they should do?
I love this question because theory is useless without action. The simplest first step is to draw your own personal cash flow statement. Just take a piece of paper and map out your income and your expenses.
Like a budget? I think everyone's tried and failed at making a budget.
It's a little different. Don't just list what you spend, actively sort your expenses into those 2 buckets we talked about, assets and liabilities. Your student loan payment, liability. Your car payment, liability. That streaming service you forgot about, definitely a liability. And on the asset side, that monthly automatic transfer you set up to your investment account, that's you buying an asset. The goal of this exercise isn't to make you feel bad, it's to make you aware. You get a clear, honest picture of where your money is really going.
Kiyosaki says that cynical voice is expensive. It costs you experience and potential gains. The antidote is to do your due diligence, yes, but also to be willing to take a calculated risk. You have to overcome the noise of your own doubt.
And the third big one seems simple, but it might be the most common. Laziness. People are busy. They think they'll get to it later. Or they'd rather binge watch a new series than read a company's annual report.
He has a great reframe for this. He says what looks like laziness is often just a lack of ambition. A little bit of greed, or desire for a better life, is the cure for laziness. If you truly want something different, you'll find the energy to work for it after your day job is done.
So it's about conquering that internal emotional resistance, the fear of failure, the cynicism that pretends to be wisdom, and the sheer inertia of laziness. Overcoming those is the real first step, even before the practical ones. So let's wrap this up with our better version takeaways. If listeners remember just 3 things from this episode, what should they be?
Okay, number 1 for me is understand the difference between an asset and a liability. Seriously, just start looking at everything you own and spend money on through that lens. Does it put money in your pocket or take it out? That awareness alone is a game changer.
Great one. My number 2 would be question your definition of security. Is a single job truly secure, or is building multiple streams of income from assets a more secure path in the long run? The book challenges the idea that a paycheck equals safety.
And for number 3, I'd say start thinking like an owner, not just an employee or consumer. Whether it's owning a piece of a business through stocks, owning a rental property, or owning your own side hustle. The goal is to build equity in something that works for you.
Those are 3 fantastic takeaways. The power of this book, despite its flaws, is that it gives you a new framework for making financial decisions.
And that's really the heart of this book. It's not about becoming rich overnight.
It's about becoming aware.
Aware of how money actually moves. Aware of why so many smart, hardworking people still feel stuck. And aware of the quiet choices that shape your future long before you notice the result.
This book doesn't give you a checklist, it gives you a lens.
And once you put that lens on, you start seeing everything differently. Your job, your spending, your definition of success.
And that's what the Better Version Book Club is really about.
Not perfection, not overnight success. Just progress made intentionally.
Thanks for spending this time with us.
We'll be back next time with another book, another conversation, and hopefully one less financial blind spot.
Helping you become a better version of yourself?
One book at a time.